Travis Wayne Goodsell. We've got news updates. The first is they held the vote in Congress today in the House for the commission or committee, whatever it's called, to investigate January 6th, of which last I heard from Fox 13 News Utah, 5 of whom were Utahns, and how many were Mormon is unclear, but we do know there was one Mormon from Idaho involved in January 6th, who was involved with young children with his job. Isn't that great? He's the guy who scaled down the walls of the Senate floor. Got his picture immortalized. And so this is a fact that there are Mormons who are working for the wrong team. With the coronavirus, which President Russell M. Nelson helped in spreading and escalating. This is a fact. Nelson had contacted China in the beginning last year in January. That's why he sent PPE out to them, which they didn't need, because they then sold their PPE to America, as Jared confiscated all of it. Said it was for the federal storage. Remember that? Oh, you were watching Fox? Oh, uh-oh. You missed it, huh? Yeah. Herbert purposely did not show that part of the video. He showed the part where he's there at the airport. Oh, wow, this is great. Awesome. Sort of skipped the part where they had to order it from another state and have it dropped off at the Wyoming border so that they could pick it up and finally get around to using it. Finally. I've noticed that since the vaccines, our cases have dropped in Utah. Great. But the deaths per cases are dramatically rising. Today, for example, we had 10. Because you have to count the elderly facility into the homepage. And today's a perfect example because there were 4 more added on the homepage, but 6 on the elderly. Huh. 6 into 4 has a couple of extras. So that just goes to show you the homepage death numbers are inaccurate. You need to add in the elderly. But this has caused a lot of deaths because of what Nelson did. He followed the government rather than taking responsibility for his organization that he's the CEO of. It's a corporation. He literally is the CEO. The Articles of Incorporation title him as that. And yet, he chose to let as many of you suffer and die as possible. That's a fact. It's not an opinion that you can argue and get mad at. It's a fact. And just because you are not one of the 400,000 Utahns, as we have a little over 3 million in population, so there's a lot of us who either didn't get it or we were asymptomatic and didn't realize we had it. But for you to be so calloused as to think, oh, it's no big deal. 400,000, so what? 3,000 dead, so what? My God. But among those were missionaries, because Nelson didn't pull them home early enough and keep everyone home long enough. There was a sister missionary who was sent right back out to Switzerland, died on her P-Day doing a hike in the mountains, fell off the cliff. Wouldn't have happened had she been at home staying away from coronavirus. And by the way, Switzerland, and I'm thinking it's Switzerland, I don't think it was Sweden, but I remember looking it up in the news after she had died to see where they were for their country for coronavirus, and wouldn't you know it, they had a huge rise. I mean, we're talking massive. We're not talking just a few hundred. We're talking thousands of people who got the virus in that country, where she was right back in the mission. And so as the president of the church, you have to factor in all of that. You can't just say, oh, well, we're fine in Utah. You have to factor in the rest of the nation, the rest of the world. And he didn't do that. He just put it out there and said, oh, we're going to follow the governments. They're going to decide whether we have church or not. And when he says stuff like that, yeah, Mormon leaders feel the pressure. Oh crap, we've got to fudge our numbers, we've got to hide the studies, manipulate the testing, so that Nelson can get the church back open again. And that's exactly what happened in Utah, as church became the super spreader for Utah. So 2 more missionaries died today. They've been out for a while now because Nelson didn't keep missionaries home long enough. I mean, Heber C. Kimball was the one who prophesied that in the last days the missionaries would be called home. I guess he didn't specify for how long. And then you're not going to know this unless you pay attention to the church news. They'll probably put out a video for YouTube, but this is on today. 2 more temples after the 20. Nelson secretly went to Ephraim and said, you guys are now getting a temple. And then now we got 2 more. Port Vila, Vanuatu, and Tarawa, Kiribati. And I most likely butchered the phonetics. They're in Oceania. Those are those are extraditable. So is Ephraim. And so I'm a bit curious. But if you notice, Trump, his business is under criminal indictment. They're investigating for him for crimes, no longer civil. And that deals with the finances. And if you're familiar with any of the news from Trump's finances, unless you're watching Fox News, Trump is in real estate, among other things, and he sucks. But the manner in which he does real estate is he when he needs to show that he's big and rich, he shows he's big and rich on any of the forms. But when he has to pay money, depending on his level of wealth, all of a sudden, oh, I'm so poor, oh, this property's worthless, etc. And we're not talking a slight difference. We're talking massive. You'd be dumb not to notice differences. And the church is pulling this kind of scam too. And this should have worried all Mormons who know about this kind of practice, when the church has been consistently losing members for the last several years, and I think I've figured out why, is because they're not reporting all members. China, remember? Temple in China? We have members in China. Where are they on the member stats? There's a Wikipedia page that will tell you each nation and the number of members, and they even show you the population of the nation too. And yet, nope. China, blank. And I did the video where I showed that Russia returned this year. Russia's back. We now have those 23,000 members added back in. But as I was going over the non-extradition countries, the church is not welcome in only 12 nations. You can see the ones that were circled here. This is the whole list. The church is involved in what's called a Cumorah project, and it's somewhat of a combining outreach to get members who are few in numbers in various states or nations to get them involved and such. That's apparently what the Cumorah project is. And but yeah, the church has plenty of options to flee the country when the prophesied civil war comes to America. And if you're unfamiliar with that, I refer you to the Book of Mormon and your Doctrine and Covenants for those answers. 8 through 13, 1 Nephi chapter 7, Doctrine and Covenants section 45, Doctrine and Covenants section 101, etc. Section 103 even, because there's no reason for that Mormon Moses to lead Mormons out of Utah if there's not a reason to leave Utah in the first place. What would be a reason to leave? All the other prophecies of war and destruction. And so the church, Nelson, has come out and said, hey, Temple Square is Zion. That's why they're remodeling the Salt Lake Temple, so that they can make it have more people flowing through it, because that's the fulfillment of Isaiah now. Joseph Smith is a false prophet. Nelson's now telling us how it's going to be. That's a fact. The church thinks Joseph Smith is fallen. They don't believe he's a translator. They don't care about his birth. They never recognize his death. And that's coming up next month. And watch, if the church doesn't flee, leaving us to be destroyed, as the parable in section 101 tells us, they're going to skip them again. And so all these temples, you'd think, well, he's preparing for a gathering to Salt Lake City. He said so himself. This will be the place of gathering. Well then, why is he still announcing temples all around the world? 2 more in Oceania today. The Ephraim one not too long ago. 20 in the latest conference. What's all this about? Because by the time they're built, it'll be 2024. Unless he's thinking property ownership, real estate, and why? Well, war is coming. So after the war, who then becomes the rich? Those who own land. And if they flee to a non-extradition country and are protected from civil war in that country, especially civil war in America, they can just fly right back in 2024 when America is destroyed, bringing the Mormons from around the world to Zion to replace the Utah Mormons. They've been doing that. I've done the videos. Senator Mike Lee has also been trying to get laws passed to have Mormons replaced. They want to bring people from outside of America to come work in America. And he didn't specify Utah only, but we know that's what he's doing. Everything he does is for Utah and the church. He's from Utah. That's what they do. And so whenever Senator Lee wants to do something, it's because the church tells him to. So his constant trying to get a bill for religious freedom, which keeps getting denied, but yep, that's the church. So, yeah. There was another thing on Mike Lee. I was going to bring it up, and I think I forgot it. And it's not coming back to my mind other than remembering that there was something about him with what he did. I can't, it's bugging me now. I'm of course going to remember after I do the video. Alright, anyway. So yeah, just understand, I did the video this morning. YouTube retaliated from last night. So last night I finally got that video posted and had to do the clarification at the beginning that YouTube was purposely preventing me from posting any videos. And they retaliated this morning by not allowing the video that I had put up this morning to be put on my spotlight on the home page. They just are terrorists, literally. YouTube are terrorists. They're isolating me from everybody else, and they're suppressing my views, as you can well see by comparison with my original Travis Wayne Goodsell channels before I came back with the problems that they gave me on TWG. And that's because I exposed the church's crimes. The church is prophesied to flee. The prophets prophesied. Section 101. There is no doubt or debate on that. There are other passages that also warn us the church will be false in the latter days. All the prophecies about this Mormon Moses guy all indicate that the church has to be wicked in order for him to come. Otherwise there's no need for him. No need for Christ, if the church is righteous. And I believe Oaks did a talk about telling Mormons not to think that their faith will cancel the second coming. It's happening whether you want it to or not. So listen to Oaks for that one time. So yeah, you guys need to be aware. I mean, the church already has their big lie long before Trump had his big lie for 2020, the election. That's where he got it from. It's Joseph Smith as a translator. Everything in the church deals with whether or not Joseph Smith is a translator. You know, the church has said yes. I did the video this morning about it. And then all of a sudden now they're saying, oh, well, he's not a translator, and he didn't do it as we used to tell everybody. We sort of lied to you. This is how it is now, so trust us. We're the leaders of the church who speak with God. We're not lying now. Trust us. They're still lying. Because there was Urim and Thummim, not that nice pretty rock. Joseph used the ugly rocks in his hat. Alrighty.